When I say the words licensed cartoon game, what is the first thing you think of? Well, depending on the games of your childhood, it could be that kind of cheap slop garbage that ruined your life. Could you imagine how different I'd be if I played Revenge of the Flying Dutchman as a kid instead of Simpsons Hit and Run? Probably would have cured cancer. In other cases, you were one of the lucky ones and got to experience the joys of running around in open Springfield as Homer. Sadly, the former is the common case. Now, how can a game with SpongeBob be bad? I love SpongeBob. I know, I do too. But look what they did to him. That's not my sponge. Licensed games tend to be inherently negative. You can blame their whole purpose for that, to make money and to advertise. Think of characters like Tack, whose whole existence was to advertise a TV show that didn't exist yet, all through a mediocre but beloved mascot platformer. That's pure greed right there. Or the fact that over 17 seasons of SpongeBob, there's nearly 33 games, and that's an approximation. With that kind of output and the budget of a penny, a napkin, a chip, and a year's worth of time, it's pretty fair that most of these are subpar at best. But when the stars align and one of these licensed games are actually good, it's a whole different beast. Because what's more fun than Mario? Mario, but with SpongeBob. Or Luigi's Mansion with Scooby-Doo. I mean, who doesn't want to play as their favorite character? You think I wouldn't enjoy Persona more if it was Springfield instead? There was clearly a golden age for all this hoopla, though. Starting somewhere in the middle of the 5th generation until the middle of the 7th generation. People usually narrow it down to just being the 6th, but you miss a lot of great titles by doing that. This sort of narrows my exploration of this niche time frame in 2 ways. Mostly mainline consoles, in between the years of 1997 and 2014. This golden age was so prevalent that the Wii launched with a cartoon licensed game in SpongeBob Creature of the Krusty Krab. So join me as I explore this golden age and work to find out what's really worth talking about. And speaking of, let's start with the biggest behemoth, mascot platformers. Platformers are what I consider to be a high-skill sailing genre. Anyone can make a 5 out of 10, hell, even a 6, but not many people can make a 7. Don't say it, don't think it, don't say it, don't think it, don't say it, don't think it. SpongeBob Super Sponge is closer to a 5. I mean, it's fine. You know, what do you even say about this kind of thing? For a game from 2001 on the original PlayStation, I'd say it's below average. This falls closer to what shovelware is in my head for sure. Plays like Sonic. Get hit, you lose your golden spatulas. Platforming kinda sucks. Too many controls on one button. Only thing that stands out about it is catching and using jellyfish to attack. It's a neat idea. Very, very messy level design though, and quite a short game. There is actually good 2D licensed platformers on the same console. Pink Panther Pinkadelic Pursuit from 2002. This game rocks. All you do is go through stages and try and find a key. Quite simple. The movement is 100 times better than Super Sponge. I guess it has to do with how light you feel. And it's made with the intention to be played fast. Is this relevant to the show? I got nothing on that regard. I don't actually really know what Pink Panther does. I know if I had to guess, there's probably 1,000 games like this that do it better without Pink Panther in it. But the style of the cartoon really shines more than it does in Super Sponge. Everything pops out so nicely, especially the colors. Skipping forward a little, we get into one of the big hitters of the licensed game scene. Heavy Iron Studios, a subsidiary group of THQ, which made like 90% of these. THQ is pretty much given free reign to most franchises games between both Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. Developing games through a couple groups, Heavy Iron is the one that really loved the mascot platformer and knew how to do it justice within their budgeted time window. Scooby-Doo 100 Nights of Frights being their first big shot at the idea and only the second ever game they developed, being kind of a 3D 2.5D platformer like Klonoa. This is honestly a pretty unique game all things considered. Solid platforming with nice animation, fitting graphics and colors, and even a very interesting gameplay loop. Rather than mindlessly slogging through stages, you're figuring out one big puzzle, where some stages have sections only completable through other stages of the game, making it have a lot of backtracking. Hating or loving that style is a player-to-player thing. Anything but a groggy gameplay loop is already a step up. It's also the type of platformer where some enemies are killable and others aren't, rather than all or none, making it kinda hard. There's a lot to love about it though, but it also has its quirks. It has a f***ing laugh track. I don't even know what triggers it. It just happens. Still, worth playing if you're a Scooby head, a Doo head, or a shit. I feel the same about its non-mascot platformer brother, Scooby-Doo Mystery Mayhem. Yeah, I do whatever I want. Maybe a better Scooby-Doo game in concept. I mean, it's just Luigi's Mansion with Scoob and Shag. This follows more of an episodic format, just trying to create one long overarching story across different chapters. It's almost a horror game. It's as charming as 100 Frights and closer to the original source material in both gameplay and plot, but I still like 100 Frights more. Ah, who cares? Do you want to know the third game they ever made? SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. This is the golden egg of licensed games. The one many consider to be the best of the best. Maybe even a gem of the generation. Kinda true. This game's platforming is just something to behold. You can see the clear skeleton of games like 100 Frights all throughout it. The spongy animation, the fluidity, even the satisfaction of running around and collecting things. It's all there, now in glorious 3D. It's so fun to control SpongeBob. I always find myself wandering aimlessly just to keep bouncing around like an idiot. It just feels good. You even get a somewhat explorable Bikini Bottom. This is the kind of game that's in the same vein as a Crash, Spyro, or Mario. Do puzzles or general challenges that get golden spatulas, needing 5, 10, 15, and so on to get further through Bikini Bottom. I know I said Mario style when this sort of thing is just part of the genre. Even games closer to the big 3D platformer renaissance like Bugs Bunny Lost in Time from 1999 mimics that idea, collecting clocks rather than golden spatulas. That game is about the same quality, but it does have 5th gen platformer problems, mostly the camera. Battle for Bikini Bottom even gets multiple characters to play as, just no Clancy Brown.
SpongeBob, this flapping robot crisis is making the Krusty Krab lose money like a sinking ship.
I could do a better Mr. Krabs than that. This is just shameful. SpongeBob, me boy. Hire me anytime. It is the ultimate SpongeBob experience as a game. I don't personally think anything outside of a Mascot platformer works well for him, but a lot of the 3D iterations of SpongeBob do struggle to get the animation style just right. Translating 2D to 3D is one of the most difficult things to do, and one of the main reasons why a lot of these licensed games look a bit underbaked and sometimes even uncanny. Now, things like cell shading can make a character pop if actually done right. I mean, go look at Super Sponge. Otherwise, we have situations where you don't really use it at all, given that sort of cheap look that this game has. Even when the colors match and the designs of the characters fit what they'd be in 3D, it's just slightly off, but still likable. Now, with the popularity that Battle for Bikini Bottom got out of the blue, you get that overrated label. And I get it. I really do. It is overrated, but not amongst its peers. Now, compared to Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, did I just get cursed? You're not allowed to have an opinion of Battle for Bikini Bottom until you play this. Doesn't even have to be a long time, maybe 30, 40 minutes if you're brave enough, even an hour, because you'll realize I'm right and come running back to Heavy Iron Studios begging to be let back in. Sorry, but the gates are closed. This game is awful. It doesn't even know what it wants to be. It has an objective, collect the Flying Dutchman's treasures, but you wouldn't know it if you were like 7, because the games just let you go wherever you want and dick around without any real sense of a guiding hand. Because you're in an open Bikini Bottom, there's no real guardrails to it either. You can see that as a positive in some ways. It is fun to explore, but there isn't much to find or see besides collectibles. You give a kid a copy of Morrowind, he gets lost and never plays the game again. You give a kid a copy of Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, and you accidentally end up delivering burgers for like 30 hours straight thinking it's the whole game. Then you actually go and do the main objective, and it's finding letters of the alphabet. A case of a game with no real focus. How about the opposite? A game with a little too much focus. Heavy Iron Studios, SpongeBob the Movie, the video game. Technically a licensed game of a cartoon movie. A caveat I would never give to TAC. This is a very, very focused game, generally following the events of the movie before it even came out, so no spoilers. Instead of an open Bikini Bottom, we have stages, each stage being a set from the movie, like Goofy Goobers. Each stage also has a select amount of Goofy Goober tokens, which are both a hard and soft requirement like the Golden Spatula. They don't flat out unlock stages though. Instead, you go into a stage and get told by Mandy, you don't have enough Goofy Goober tokens, pussy, and then get spat on. You'd like that, wouldn't you, freak? It still has that fluidity and rubbery animation from other Heavy Iron games, but it's only a year apart from Battle for Bikini Bottom. Who's getting this over that? It is really just an asset flip, but I can't blame them. I took the dream stages from that game. Look, I'm SpongeBob. Later titles like Truth or Square are more in the same. I can understand liking it over the original, but it isn't anything crazy. I will give the Heavy Iron games one big applaud though. They know how to make a licensed character feel right. SpongeBob should be bouncy and rubbery. He's a sponge. Patrick should control like a brick. He's stupid. And Scooby-Doo, you just keep being a dog, alright? This is one of the things that is the most important to me. The thing that separates you from the rest of the pack. If it just feels like you're a generic character with sponge-based paint, what's the damn point? In the same year as Battle for Bikini Bottom, we have another Yellow Man. A much rounder, fatter yellow man, and he has his own weird idea on what a licensed game is. For my entire life, Simpsons Hit and Run has been referred to as a game trying to mimic the success of games like Grand Theft Auto Vice City. I just don't see it like that. I see the similarities here and there though, but it's more like two games. A big open sandbox that is split up between characters, and a very arcadey driving game, with the same controls as earlier Simpsons games like Road Rage. Its focus is more on replayability and silly fun rather than some driving narrative. The sandbox is less of a Grand Theft Auto and more of a hub world. You can find collectibles here and there, but it's more about player imagination and finding your own fun. There is side quests and races, but most of them are more akin to the main game. Driving. Difficult driving, actually, because the damn time limits on these missions are ridiculous. You have to use shortcuts. You just don't have a choice. Even then, a single mistake will fail the mission. It's not a game for the faint of heart. Really, you're not supposed to speed through these missions anyway. You certainly can since they never actually stop you, but you just get the choice to continue or not. Instead, exploring and doing all there is to offer is the real game in my opinion, and where most of the fun is. Outfits, vehicles, and as I said, collectibles, all within replayable levels accessible at any time. It is a very old school and segmented kind of game, which is why I've always gone a little bit more of an arcadey vibe from it. Think of games like Simpsons Skateboarding. Very awful game, yes, but it's arcadey because it's just a clone of Tony Hawk. Okay, better example, Simpsons Wrestling. And there's Simpsons Road Rage. I actually kind of like this one. Take the driving a hit and run and make it its own game. Even if it is a clone of Crazy Taxi, it's still good. Multiple vehicles and characters attached to them, all wrapped around a proven concept. Biggest problem? I mean, just look at it. Ugly. Even if it's just the landscapes, my god, does it stand out. Simpsons Skateboarding and Wrestling are universally hated games. Wrestling being maybe one of the worst games I think I've played in my entire life. I don't even know what it's trying to do. Does it know what it's trying to do? You can beat the entire game with one button, while also beating the Simpsons skateboarding game on a different TV. When you're copying a game like Road Rage does with Crazy Taxi, or even Scooby-Doo Monster Mayhem does with Luigi's Mansion, you have to try. It can't even do the slightest part of the skateboarding game right. Bad physics, weird issues with fluidity and forgiveness, and just mediocre maps. Here's my washed Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 gameplay as a comparison. I used to be good at this game. It gives a lot of context to what Hit and Run was trying to be. The same feel, but actually pulled off well, which really ends up playing into the status as Hit and Run as one of those gems in the license world, and also a gem for the fans. Tom and Jerry and House Trapped and Tom and Jerry War of the Whiskers are the same sort of arcadiness found with the other Simpson games. War of the Whiskers isn't my personal cup of tea, but it's a pretty beloved game as far as licensed games can go. It's a pretty standard arena brawler. Punch, kick, throw, jump, and a berserk mode. I keep getting my ass kicked by Jerry. This is the kind of PS2 NPC that you're never gonna win against. Look at this combo. I think House Trapped is a little closer to what I expect out of a Tom and Jerry game. It's just Tom and Jerry as a video game. All you do is chase Tom around the house in this weird split screen format. Brooms, baseball bats, frying pans, bowling balls, and even bombs. Anything it takes to kill Tom. It's simple fun that's perfected its gameplay loop, and it's very pick up and play. There's not even really a tutorial, but it makes you start to wonder if Jerry is the real evil here in the Tom and Jerry universe. He's such an asshole. What did Tom do to deserve getting hit by bowling balls at all? All he did was hunt you down. You're his prey. He's the predator. Fall into the circle alive, damn it. The only thing that really comes close to this arcadey sort of style and focus on replayability is party games or just minigame collections. Dexter's Laboratory, Mandark's Lab is one of those minigame collections. I've never actually seen the show. Is this what it's about? This is pretty much a minigame collection centered around a story, which is just trying to be an episode of the show. It got some overworld adventure aspects between the minigames, but the only real gameplay is the minigames. Other news, another original PlayStation game from 2002. It's not awful or anything. Some of these minigames even put a little smile on my face. I just don't really know if it's what the fans want as a Dexter's Laboratory game. I mean, I don't. I really don't. Now, SpongeBob Lights Camera Pants, what a title, is more of a traditional type of party game, being a minigame collection with the option of multiple people. Again, these aren't awful, but they run on just a little too long. Did we really need 3 minutes of this? Nothing insanely memorable. I think people like this one overall, but just like Dexter's Lab, all you really have to do is be relevant. What a low bar to clear, am I right? So South Park chefs love Shaq. Does the idea of a trivia game of a show with like 30 episodes sound like a good idea? No. What if they weren't pieces of actual South Park trivia, just trivia with some relevance to the show? What conference are the Denver Broncos in? Then you play a shitty minigame. Might as well just start asking questions about Dr. Katz, since we're keeping things so relative here. I don't know what it is either, I just looked it up. This still isn't the most common genre. What is probably beat 'em ups. Got a little chill up my spine. There is plenty of directions you can take this idea, whether that's an action adventure game with beat 'em up style combat or a mix of puzzle platforming with beat 'em up as a filler. All of the 2000s era Nicktoon games mix it up like this, but they're still mostly beat 'em ups first, that are all for some reason connected narratively while keeping the same cast: Sponge, Jimmy, Timmy, Danny, and sometimes Tack. It is embarrassing how hard they were trying to get Tack to be a thing. I'm so sorry, Tack. These games are average at best. Nicktoons Unite is a co-op brawler. Not really much on the platforming side, but a little bit of puzzle work. Fine enough. You just choose one and beat the whole game with them. It has one of those slowly fill up the bar kind of XP systems, where you're dropping off Gleebles or whatever the game's currency was. The only other thing of real note is that this happened to me. Must be a Pibby glitch. Clearly a lot more fun with friends, so I'm not gonna really tear it apart like that. At least I have you, SpongeBob. Nicktoons Globs of Doom and Volcano Island, they're the same sort of deal. Play whoever you want because they're all just the same. Globs of Doom at least tries to add villains from franchises into the mix of things. And Volcano Island has a cool setting with some decent platforming and puzzle work, going for its own map rather than a map from one of the cartoons. These three are all serviceable and quite inoffensive, but the beat 'em up side of things in all these games are pretty weak. But to have a heart-to-heart with you, nobody's here for that. They are here for the characters and seeing them interact. Look, SpongeBob is talking to Danny Phantom. That's my two closest friends. If you're also here for that, I'd say Attack of the Toy Bots is your best bet. It is also the only real standout from a gameplay perspective, being a mix of a platformer with the worst camera I think I've ever seen, and a beat 'em up. This camera might be a little worse than that Bugs Bunny game. Unlike the earlier Mascot platformers, it's don't laugh, more like a Celeste or Super Meat Boy. It says more about me than it does in the game, doesn't it? One-shot kills, fast-paced platforming through tight sections full of traps, square characters, and allegories for the human experience. On the other side, it has the biggest roster of characters, which automatically makes it the best game. All three of these have their biggest draw as a double-edged sword. You can play as your favorite character without rarely needing to swap, because they're all the exact same. Nicktoons Unite tried to differentiate them, but not enough for it to matter, so the rest just give it all up. They all have a range move, they all have a melee move. I know that's the appeal, play whoever you want, but I don't have to like it. All of these beat 'em ups suffer from it though, so I guess that makes me wrong. I know I dogged a lot of beat 'em ups here, but licensed games love them so damn much. But a lot of times they can actually work. Ben 10 Protector of Earth is a pure beat 'em up, and a beloved one at that. Ben 10 has always been in my head as Avatar: The Last Airbender's cross-channel rival, both trying to have that more serious narrative mixed with humor and good action. Same with Teen Titans, even though it's a bit of a different story. Does the game actually pull this off? As someone who last saw the show when I was 5, my best guess is kind of. It has an actual progression system, unlike the Nicktoons beat 'em ups, and some sort of backtracking through the different aliens found in the Omnitrix. I like the big red one. It even tries to match the art style of the show with its cell shade, which is risky with how finicky that approach can be. There are small reasons on why you'd pick one alien over the other, but it's still the same case of just picking who you like the most. I still like this game though, and coming from someone that isn't a fan, that's a pretty good compliment. The combat does its best with its resources and feels pretty damn good to control, especially because I played it after the Teen Titans beat 'em up. This was my favorite show as a kid, closest thing to an anime that wasn't really an anime. On the surface, it's kind of the same as Nicktoons Unite, without puzzles or fun. Okay, it's not awful, it's just boring, which is actually worse. The combo progression is still here, but the levels are so unbearably long and the variety is just non-existent. Characters still feel as they should, especially Starfire with all her magic. Hell, even the cutscenes try to match the cartoon springiness found in the show, but it doesn't right most of the wrongs. I think the Nicktoons games and Ben 10 fixed this by having some sort of platforming or puzzle work between the endless spew of enemies. The only positive is the same positive I gave Ben 10 and the Nicktoon games. You can pick your favorite character and use them. I used Raven for strictly tactical purposes. My favorite character was always Red X. Don't laugh. There is other fixes though. Avatar: The Last Airbender and its sequel Burning Earth attempted to balance the mix of adventure and beat 'em up style combat. The first game is maybe one of the most creative licensed games I've ever played, being closer to a Diablo-style game with its loot and combat system. It is also the most unpolished game I played for this video. Nothing really flows well in the combat side, but the adventuring side is really worth commending. To me, this is a game that fell under the weight of its own potential. Because it's a THQ licensed game, there's a 90% chance they flat out didn't have enough time to make it. Its sequel is closer to the rest of the beat-em-ups I talked about, but it has a slimmed down version of its predecessor's adventure. Sadly, this makes it the better licensed game since it can actually realize its potential and polish its combat. Think on the lines of most anime games like Ultimate Ninja. I wasn't done with the segment yet. What happens when you take the stealth of Metal Gear Solid, the narrative of Final Fantasy, and the cultural impact of Mario? Let me know if you find out. The Family Guy games decided to be a mixture of 3 different genres, and with 3 different genres comes the big 3 of Family Guy. When you're Stewie, you're playing a puzzle platformer with shoot-'em-up elements. When you're Peter, it's a really average beat-em-up. And then there's Brian, a character I've been told I'm pretty similar to. What genre is he? Let's see, what's a video game genre that people like? Stealth. It's Brian Griffin, not Liquid Brian. Stu's parts are actually pretty enjoyable. It has its nitpicks here and there, of course, but if it was this and nothing else for like 3 or so hours that this game is, hell, I'd probably like it. Pete is whatever, mostly forgettable and boring, but Brian's stealth segments are just so bad. Platformers are already a hard genre. This game does decent at it, if not a little stiff at times, but stealth is maybe the easiest genre to be shit at, especially when it's whatever the hell this is. It was never gonna work. I don't even know why they bothered. The game also doesn't really go anywhere or do anything. You're pretty much just dicking around with some sort of loose reasoning. I would consider these closer to adventure games. They aren't really dedicated to specific gameplay loops like a platformer or a beat-em-up. It's whatever it wants to be, whenever it decides to be. There's a lot of these, especially on the Nicktoons side of the world. Jimmy Neutron has both Attack of the Twonkies and Jet Fusion. Both are puzzle adventure games, find parts to make gadgets, make said gadgets, and do something with it. Attack of the Twonkies is undoubtedly the better game, but it's just inoffensive at best. Very handholdy, a little boring. Jet Fusion, however, is exactly what I've wanted. A game so bad it flips around and is fun again. It's the same exact idea. Adventure around, have a little collectathon, but the levels are enormous and sort of aimless. If there isn't these big ass arrows, I wouldn't even know where to go. It has its quirks. It has a lot of quirks actually, and it is pretty janky, but I personally had way more fun with this over the objectively better game. I guess the slop is finally poisoning me. If you're looking for a more pure adventure game and the original Family Guy game just isn't doing it, look no further than another Nicktoon, Timmy. Fairly Odd Parents Breaking the Rules was everything I wanted the Family Guy game to do. It matches the show's art style better, it's actually moderately fun, it puts a little effort in. It's a little baby, even for the niche, and has some hand-holding problems here and there, but it's still relatively fun. And just like Family Guy Back to the Multiverse, you're bouncing around looking for different worlds to regain Cosmo and Wanda's power, like Crimson Chinland or cyberspace, all done stylistically really cool, especially with Spatula Lady here. Hot damn. Speaking of, Family Guy Back to the Multiverse is similar in a lot of ways, without as much adventure. Is this the best game of all time? Yes. Closer to most of the games I've talked about, it's just fighting hordes enemies, while traveling to multiple realms. It's even made by Heavy Iron Studios. God, am I happy to see your face again. You can say it's lazy and not very Family Guy, but look what Acclaim was doing with South Park. It can be so much worse. 1, okay, now here's 2. You do the math. This is based off the skeleton of Season 8's first episode, Road to the Multiverse. One of the many episodes in the Road 2 saga. The same way South Park's Stick of Truth is based off of Season 6's, I'm not saying all that. You know what that means. It's a Brian and Stewie adventure, made to be played co-op. At least I have you, Bri. This game just flat out rocks. Yeah, it's kind of bad, but it's just so damn fun, it's hard to think about it. It's got all the Heavy Iron specialties that you'd expect. Solid gameplay, more polished than the average licensed game, collectibles, costumes like Snoopy Brian, and a boatload of replayability, with the choice of either being Stewie or Brian. Both equally as good as each other, but with different sets of weapons. The main gripe is the stages, being kind of boring compared to the episodes its skeleton comes from. The show has Disney World, we have Cripple Land, and beyond that, some are too long and some are too short, a problem that plagues most of the niche. Still, the general style is a billion times better than the original game. All the characters actually look like themselves. The use of cell shading and how well they translated the characters into 3D is quite noticeable. They even got a lot of the the angles down. Didn't think it was really possible. It is the true fan experience, and one of the two mainline Family Guy console games. And just like South Park Stick of Truth, it's barely on the edge of the golden age. This is without debate the greatest licensed cartoon game ever created. Maybe just licensed game in general. A labor of love made from years and years of failure. All is beyond belief. A fully explorable South Park. The ability to make your own custom OC. Every character that you could possibly want from the show. Every single location you could possibly want from the show. Barely any game really rivals its tactfulness, being one of the few licensed games that really got what it was supposed to be. Simple fun, and something for the fans to remember. It's also kind of a lottery pick of a game. It's not true 3D, it has active input turn-based combat and the ability to sort of go off the rails with its humor, and that's really all I have. This is about where I'd place the end of the golden age anyway. By Stick of Truth, it was kinda dead. Nowadays, the need for big licensed projects are kinda non-existent outside of SpongeBob. Damn thing's eternal. You have games like Fortnite, where it's much easier and cheaper to throw your characters in it, rather than having to make your own project. Projects pop up here and there, but get their plugs pulled as soon as the dollar signs don't have at least like 20 zeros. Reality sucks sometimes, doesn't it? I did learn two very big lessons from all these games though. One, voice actors rock. I love you, Tom Kenny. And two, compared to each other, it's pretty obvious what games stand out from the pack. There is a level of tact involved with making seasons and seasons worth of a show into a competent package that actually makes sense for the franchise and its character. Although these games lack polish, all of them are quite repetitive and most of them don't really stack up to the competition in the AAA gaming sphere. But I genuinely believe if the time was there and the resources were better, the developers would make better games. Imagine that. There has to be passion here, right? Why else would you put so much effort into something that is mostly just there for cash? Anyways, that's all I have. Subscribe, like, and comment your favorite licensed cartoon game. See you later, and goodbye.